Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today we are going to discuss about the functions of literature. So in today's lecture we'll discuss first of all introduction of literature, ideology on functions of literature, why do people read literature, and roles of literature in our society, and functions of literature. So first of all, literature can be defined as an expression of human feelings, thought and ideas, whose medium is language, oral and written. Literature is not only about human ideas, thoughts and feelings, but also about experiences of the authors. Literature can be medium for human to communicate what they feel, what they think, and experience to the readers. So as well as we'll discuss here about the critics. Critics have been discussing from very early times about the functions of literature, functions of literature. Though they differ among themselves regarding the other functions of literature, they are all agreed on one point, that the main function of literature is to entertain the readers, or in the other words, to give them pleasure. Longinus was the first critic to lay down his thesis that loftiness or sublimity in literature has its end ecstasy, transport, lifting out of oneself. So Illes defines the literature as the verbal expression of human imagination and one of the primary means by which a culture transmits itself. Based on thus definitions, literature contains universal ideas, human imagination and human interest that written in any writings and use language as medium to express humans' ideas and feelings. So here we'll discuss about the Sidney. Sidney voiced the opinion of Longinus when he said that the chief functions of literature is to move. I never heard the old song of Percy and Douglas. He declared that I found not moved more than with a trumpet. Redden was the next critic who cleared away the ancient stumbling block of criticism, the doctrine that the aim of the writer is to instruct or make men better in some respect. He asserted that the aim of writer is to not to teach but to please. And he distinguished between literature which is art and literature which is didactic. Instruction may result from the reading of poetry, but it is not the end, for poesy only instruct as it delights. Referring to the function of literature to delight and to move, De Quincey made the distinction between the literature of knowledge and literature of power. The function of the first is to teach, the function of the second is to move. So here is a difference, that he is going to convey that the function of the first is to teach. Literature is being used for the teaching, and the second function of is to move. So literature is using for move. Thus the main functions of literature are to entertain and give pleasure to reader, and to heighten his awareness of certain aspects of life. Beside these two primary functions, literature also performs three subsidiary functions: propaganda, release and escape. Propaganda literature must be distinguished from mere propaganda, in which there is nothing creative. The writer of mere propaganda is simply concerned to popularize facts, ideas and emotion with which he is familiar. But propaganda, that is literature, is a creative influence irradiating and transforming the writer's experience. The idea to be propagated is still alive and growing in his mind, It is this living and growing idea which the artist communicates to his reader and thereby transforms his whole attitude of life. He can do so by the direct method of exposition and exhortation as Ruskin did, or in the direct method of fiction like Dickens. So here we are discussing about the critics. What are critics saying about the functions of literature? So now we'll discuss different ideologies on roles of literature. So we are going to discuss about the roles of literature, why we read literature, and then we'll discuss the functions of literature. So according to the Marxist ideology, literature is one of the forms of social consequences. And indeed, literature is a reflection of life in its all aspects. So dear students, here it is a point that literature is a reflection of life in its all aspects. So number second is, literature is the study of man, his feelings or emotions, his needs, his relationship to this society, his contractions within himself and his community, and his responses to all these aspects. So now this is the thing that you have to be very careful, that literature is the study of man, his feeling, feelings of man, or emotions of man, or needs of man, or relationship of man to his society, his contraction, whose contractions, man's contraction within himself and his community, and his responses to all these aspects. Hence the function of literature is to discuss all these aspects and whole human relationships. So literature is enriched with the whole human relationships. All relationships are intermingled within literature. So we'll discuss the ideologies of literature here too, but Marxist ideology is saying something else. Literature is one of the forms of social consequences, and indeed literature is a reflection of life. But literature is the study of man. Whose study? Literature is the study of man, feelings of man, emotions of man, needs of man, relationships of man within his society, and contractions of man within himself, and as well as with his community, and his all responses to all with these aspects. So literature is discussed all these aspects and whole human relationship. So now this is the thing, that why do people read literature? So this is also question for you people, that why do you read literature? So here we'll discuss that why do we read literature. In fact, we all read literature for a variety of reasons. Obviously, when we do something, there are something that why we do these things. Na? So these reasons may change in accordance with our age, with our interest, and the kind of literature we read. So first of all, we'll discuss pleasure. So our basic reason for reading literature is probably pleasure. Obviously, pleasure is the main thing for a reader. Obviously, when a reader is going to read something, his or her first purpose will be there for his pleasure. So we read literature mostly because we enjoy it. Reading literature for pleasure may take various forms. So there are some other forms that why we read literature for pleasure. So we may read just to pass the time. We may read so as to find pleasure in learning about the life of a certain place or a person. So dear students, why we read literature, we are going to discuss that why we read literature. We also read simply for enjoyment we get from the arrangements of words and moral saying. So these are the points that we are discussing, that why we read literature. We may read just to time pass. This is the number one thing, is that we just read to pass the time, and we may read so as to find pleasure in learning about the life of a certain place or a person. Obviously, when we are reading, so we are reading about something. Now we are reading about a man, we are reading about a person, we are reading about a book, we are reading about an author, we are reading about a place, we are reading about a thing, we are reading about a molecule, we are reading about a laptop, we are reading about a computer, we are reading about the general instructions. So this is the thing why we are reading. We also read simply for enjoyment. Obviously we read for enjoyment, we get from the arrangements of words and moral sayings. We also find pleasure even in reading about comedy and other comic stories. So obviously we read stories for our enjoyment, we read stories for comedy, we read and other comic stories too. So others, though not all, find or hold the pleasure is the sole end. So this is the thing that why we read literature. The number one was that we are reading literature for pleasure, but why we are reading literature for pleasure, these are the points that why we read literature. So number second is information and knowledge. Obviously when we read something, we are getting knowledge, we are getting information, we are getting something about the thing we are going to read. So also we often read literature for information and knowledge. We find possible solutions to our problems when we meet people in books whose problems are like our own. So through literature we sometimes understand situation we could not otherwise understand in real life. Some critics still hold that the true ends of literature are to instruct and delight, that is, not only giving us the knowledge but also leaving us delighted. So thus by summing up, literature has got different roles to perform in the society as follows. So there are many different roles of literature in our society, but we are dealing with the information and knowledge. So when we read something, obviously we get information, we get knowledge, and this is the thing that how we are going to read the things, how we are going to read the literature, how we are going to examine the things. So now we are going to discuss functions, roles of literature in the society. So what is literature playing a role in our society? So we'll discuss about these things too here. So first of all, literature is being used to educate the people. So literature teaches people on existing social, political and economic system. For after reading, here is an example, three suitors, one husband, what is the play teaching you today? So this is the example that when you are reading a novel, for example, you are reading Othello, you are reading Oedipus Rex, you are reading Jane Austen, you are reading Thomas Hardy, you are reading any other poet. So what are you going to read and what you will get from the reading? So this is the thing that he is saying, that reading literature is playing the role to educate people. This is the one thing. And the number second is to express people's culture. Obviously literature, like language, is an element of culture. It expresses people's life and culture they have from one generation to another. For example, after reading what culture is conveyed in the story, or what is the man's culture or beliefs towards women in the story. So this is the thing that literature, like language, is an element of culture. So literature is playing a role to express people's culture. So this is the thing that we are dealing here. So to entertain people, obviously literature as an art form gives those entertainments that appeal to human lives and evoke pleasure to the readers. For example, after reading Kalulu the Hare, what things in the story make you laugh, enjoy, or did any incident in Three Suitors, One Husband make you laugh? So this is the thing that when you used to read something like comic story, like comedy and anything else, when you used to read, so literature provides entertainment to you as well as. So this is the thing that literature is an art form which gives the entertainments that appeal to human lives and evoke pleasures to the reader. So this is the thing that we are quoting here example. Certain examples can be used here. So this is the thing that we are dealing with the literature roles of in our society. Obviously roles are very broad, so we are just dealing with the general roles or main roles that we deal with the literature. So to influence people in the society, literature is also designed to influence people by instilling in them the revolutionary ideas and different ways of thinking, especially those positive and sustainable ideas. For example, what way of life do you think Atangana's family should take after what have happened to them in three suitors or one husband, or what is the influence of unanswered cries to the African society that undergo female genital mutilation. So to influence people in the society, obviously when you are dealing with the character, when you are dealing with the something specific or normal, so this is the thing that literature is influencing the people in the society. So if for example, if you are reading a novel, so you are also reading that how a character is being influenced in his domain, in his culture, in his society, in his area, which is being discussed there now. So literature is being used to influence people in the society too. So to develop language, obviously literature uses language. Therefore, in so doing, literature develops and improves a particular language through all four language skills, namely listening, speaking, reading and writing to the readers. It also improves vocabulary and grammar. For example, are there sayings in the line and the jewel? What vocabulary items are used in the fast money, or does a language used in the magic garden makes you laugh? So this is the thing that obviously literature uses language. So literature is being developed with the language. Language is the medium to convey the literature. Obviously when there will be a language, literature will be there. So these are both are intermingled with and directly proportional to each other, that how these things are going to be happening within a society, and the role of society, and as well as the role of language, and as well as the role of literature within the society. So this is the thing that how literature is developing language. So to liberate people, literature also liberates people or awakens them from unfavorable conditions of life or bad treatments in the society. For example, after reading Life in Unanswered Cries, a person who participates in female genital mutilation can be awakened and stop practicing that tradition. Or many men can be aware of women's ability by reading various literature about women, including Mabala the Farmer. So these are the example we are quoting here, like Unanswered Cries, Mabala the Farmer. Earlier we have used The Lion and the Jewel, and as well as Fast Money. So these are the references that how we are getting the things. So this is the thing that literature is going to be used for the liberating the people. Obviously literature also liberates people or awakens them from unfavorable condition of life or bad treatments in the society. So here is an example that you are reading something, you are dealing with a character, so you are dealing with a story, and you will read that also, that what was his or her condition earlier, what was his condition in the middle of a novel, and then at the conclusion you will see the things different. So this is the thing that how literature is liberating the people. To criticize the society, obviously this is the main point, that when there will be anything, like you can say when someone is praising you and someone is saying that you are going so good, you are cool, you are very good, keep it up, keep going. So on the other hand, there will be critics will be there now. So this is the reciprocal process now, opposite, and you can say. So as easy to criticize the society. Obviously when you praise something, you are using in literature, you are using language. So like that literature is using for criticize the society. Literature as a tool for awareness, criticize the society by pointing out evils and their injustice in the society. As earlier I have said that if you are doing something good people will be saying that you are doing very well. But on the other hand, there will be haters will be also there, who will be saying that no, you are not doing so well, you should do like that. So these are the thing that literature is criticizing the society. When criticized, the people in the particular society take necessary actions. For example, the novel Past Like a Shadow criticized the society that is loose in this era of HIV/AIDS disease. Unanswered Cries is also criticizing the society that practice female genital mutilation in some African society. So this is the example here. We are quoting from novels, we are quoting from any character, we are quoting from any history background. So this is the thing that how literature is criticizing the society. So this is the thing that you should be very careful in your future, in your academic activities, that when you will do something good, there will be also criticism, there will be also, so you should be also ready for criticism. Without criticism you can't go further now. If you and one thing more, if you will say that I am okay and everybody will say that you are good, so it means something is wrong there. So this is very keen point that you should be very careful about that. If everybody is saying that you are doing so well, you are going so well, so there will be problem. So now we'll discuss the other functions of literature in our society. So as we have earlier discussed the functions of literature in our society, but we'll discuss some other functions too. The main functions of literature is to please the readers. Obviously we have discussed earlier the value of a work literature can be assessed if the reader move to ecstasy by the grandeur and passion of the work. Sublimity is the greatest of all literary virtues which makes a work truly impressive. The ultimate function of literature is to be sublime and have effects of ecstasy on its reader. For Longinus, this effect is attained by revelation or illumination. So Sidney said that the chief function of literature is to move. Dryden cleared away the ancient doctrine that the aim of writer is to instruct or make men better in some respect. He asserted that the aim of writer is to please, not to teach. So De Quincey made the distinction between the literature of knowledge and the literature of power. The function of the first is to teach and the function of second is to move. So earlier we have discussed all these things. So another function of literature is to heighten the awareness of the reader to certain aspect of life. The works of Sophocles and the Euripides and were created for festival and ceremonial occasions. So in the general sense they were political. So these are the saying by the critics. So to function of the the function of the ballad writers and the signers of a later date was to heighten the awareness of their listeners to aspect of the world. All great works of literature make us aware of the various aspects of life which lay hidden from us. Literature also performs three subsidiary functions: propaganda, release and escape. Propaganda is one which there is nothing creative, but propaganda, that is literature, is creative. Influence, eradicating and transforming writer experience. So the dominant motive of release literature is simply the measurement of starved needs. Poems, thriller, etc. It affects the objurgating or purification. Literature also provides escape from the grim realities of life. To sum up, the primary functions of literature are to delight the reader and heighten his awareness of life. The subsidiary functions are propaganda, release and escape, but they are subordinated to the primary creative function of literature. So now we have discussed with the thing that how literature is being used in our society. So dear students, earlier we have discussed that roles of literature, functions of literature, what are critics what critics are saying about the literature. But now we'll discuss here literature and society. Obviously, when you are living in a society, literature is also there, and how literature is playing the role in society. So literature is intimately related to society. The connections of literature with society are integral and pervasive. There is nothing in the compass of social life that does not play its part in giving literature, and society is highly complex, and it is very difficult to determine which elements of society has exerted what influence on literature. The whole of the social process regarded as containing the potential influences determining the direction and character of literature of a period. One of the finest example of the effect of social condition on the literature is provided by the literature of Shakespeare time. Pure literature was dominated at the time by the social group of the aristocracy. Spencer says of his greatest work, the Fairy Queen, that its aim to fashion a gentleman or noble person in virtues and gentle discipline. Obviously, when literature is going to deal with the society, literature will educate the people. Literature will play its role in culture. Literature will play its role in language. Literature will play its role with the readers and with the writer, with the author. So literature is being mingled with the society. So whole society is being intermingled with the literature. So the influence of social power on literature continued down to the 18th century. Publisher took place of patron in the same period. Writer is not only influenced by the society, he influences it also. Literature not only reproduces life but also shapes it. In short, every civilized society has its literature. Greek society and Roman society left their distinctive imprint upon their respective literature. So modern writers are not only bringing to light the ideas, feeling and emotions, but also exhibiting for future readers what writers regarded of virtual importance in their own day. So this is the thing, that how we have to deal with this, that literature playing role in society. As it is being said that modern writers are not only bringing to the light the ideas, feelings and emotion, but exhibiting for future readers what writers regarded as of vital importance in their own days. So every critic, every writer is playing in the role in the society in his own or in her own era, that how the things are being intermingled within the society and as well as within a literature. So here we'll discuss transmission of culture. Earlier we have discussed, but some points are also here. While a history textbook or transcripts of court trials or newspaper can tell us the facts and events of a society, nothing can share the feelings or beliefs like literature does. In literature, we see the struggles and trumps of various societies. In addition to how people responded to them, people's morals and values are often portrayed through literature. So art of communication is there. Some people express themselves well visually, others verbally, and yet others with the written word that has had opportunities for editing and several drafts. So science of communication is also there. Often an author will have a significant feeling on an issue that they wish to communicate. To pursue people to think or feel similarly, they might use reverse psychology like a dystopia, or blatantly describe the issue with many literary devices. So a word on literary devices: for everyone there are different comparisons or hyperboles that speak to us. An author of a literary piece can use many to convey their point. Obviously, literary device are also the part and the medium of communication with the reader and writer. So release literature is that in which the dominant motive of the writer simply the release of pent-up forces in the personality, romances, detective stories, thrillers, poems, etc., which are written in the such originally of the perception and the expression that have a quickening effect on the reader belong to his category. Literature of the highest sort, which is dominated by release, may be wholesome for the writer and the reader as it affects purgation or purification. So literature also provides escape from the grim realities of life. So as well as we have discussed the scope and the use of literature, but here we are also saying literature also provides escape from the grim realities of life, and many people read to escape boredom. The higher type of literature helps the reader to escape from trivial reality into significant reality. So dear students, to sum up, the primary functions of literature are to delight the reader and heighten his awareness of life. The subsidiary functions are propaganda, release and escape. We are discussing again these things, but they are subordinated to the primary creative functions of literature. So with these all things we are going to conclude our today's lecture. Inshallah, see you soon. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.